Hey there, it's Miss Hernandez, and today I wanted to share with you something that I use to help me make my art better. And a lot of you guys in the classroom were learning to use this also to make your art better, and it is an art journal. I have had an art journal since I was probably in middle school, just like a little sketchbook, just doodling and doodling. But it's one place where I can always go to just sketch. That's all I'm doing. And remember, sketching is not like completing a full drawing or a full painting or a full work of art, but it's just kind of doing the guidelines. It's kind of just practicing. It's just a place to practice. So you can practice on scraps of paper, and that's what I used to do before I had a journal or a scrapbook, is just draw something on a scrap of paper and then it gets lost somewhere. You might keep them in a folder, but eventually some of them get lost or misplaced. And a journal is a way to keep everything together. And the important thing about it is you can then go back and look at how far you've come. So you want to learn how to draw horses, or you want to learn how to draw people, or you want to learn how to draw lions, something else that we've practiced. Anything that you want to learn how to draw, the sketchbook is a place for you to just practice, and nobody has to look at it ever. It could be just for you. I'm going to share mine with you. This is the latest one that I have. I don't draw on it all the time, but if I'm really thinking about something and I really want to work out what that's going to look like, I usually start in my sketchbook. It very handily says sketch on it. It came this way. It is a pretty thick book. I have not even used half of it yet, and I've had this for years. They're just blank pages. They don't have lines. If yours has lines, or if you have an old notebook that you want to use that has lines, it's okay. It's fine. It's just something, but it's all together. This one, like I said, it has. Hey, cat. It has some stains on it. It has a little bit of wear and tear to it. She gets in the way sometimes. Anyway, so I have my sketchbook, and today we're going to look through it. I'm going to show you some of the things that I've been working on. So let's get started. The first thing I have in here is a logo design. So what I was kind of wanting to design logos for people, and there was a hair salon, like a beauty salon named Patricia Salon. And so I wanted to write the word Patricia in some kind of like lettering or font, but I wanted the P to be in the shape of a woman's face and hair. And so I was looking at different ways. This is like maybe the hair to kind of make it look like the P. So this just shows you different variations of that. And then I really, really liked, out of all these, my favorite one was this one at the bottom. So then I went with that. And this is back from 2015, so that was 5 years ago. Then I went to this page. I really liked the cursive font, just writing the name in cursive. But then I also tried sketching it out. And these, I don't know if you can see or not, but you can kind of see the sketch lines underneath. Remember how we always start with light lines first? And then over it, I went with a Sharpie or with I think I used a pencil, but just a really sharp, dark pencil to go over those lines. And then you have different variations of the face. Same thing on this side. And then I kind of just, sometimes when I like to design fonts and stuff, so sometimes when I'm doing that, I write the name just as I would. Maybe I try different handwritings, but just, it's very small. Oh wait, can you see that? Yeah, this one. And so I really like the way this came out. It's kind of in cursive, it's kind of flat and kind of elongated a little bit. So then I'm going through that. And also, my original design of the face turned into this one right here. So it's more straightforward with the eye and the nose and the mouth. And it's a little covered with the hair, but it still has the same shape that goes down. All right. Then I moved to digital. So with digital art, there are different programs that you can use on the computer. There are some that are very simple and some that are a little bit more complex. And the program that I used, it helped me to design everything that I had on paper. It helped me to create a digital version of that. And so I went through this one right here. It corresponds to, let me see, this one. So you can kind of see the difference. This was on paper and this was the one that I made digitally. They're not exactly the same, but they're very similar. And then this one, which I really, really liked the way that looked, that one turned into this one. But of course, in a logo means, like if you're going down the street and you see the sign on a building, you want it to kind of pop. You want it to be very simple, but also very bold. And so that's how this one appears. So you can see the difference between just these two designs. This one's a lot more bold, just the eye itself. And it's also more simple. This one has fewer lines on it. It just has the top, like the eyelash line, the eyebrow, and then just the pupil of the eye, or the iris. And the other one had multiple lines. The nose is similar. The lips, they instead of having lines, it's just the red of the lips. And then I made these white, and the thing about these white lines, they're not really white lines. These are called implied lines, which is just the blue of the paper or whatever color is behind it. So it's basically just empty space. These lines are made out of space. Then the font that I went with originally was this one. I drew these letters on this program, so I know it kind of looks like they're a font that already exists, but all of these were actually drawn. But this, I don't think these were ones, but the one where it says Patricia, these I drew those. And then on this side, you can also see this is going back to this little font right here that I used. And then I made it a little bit bigger. And then I did the light lines, and then I went around it to make it look more three-dimensional or more thick. And then I went and transferred that to digital. One of the things I like about this page is I made my notes on here. So I circled the things that I didn't like, and then I made a little list. So these are the things that I wanted to do. Raise the dots of the eyes. See how these dots are a little bit too close to the end, to the tip of the eyes? So I wanted to raise those. I wanted to round out the tip of this tail of the A. It's a little too like bent at the end, so I wanted to fix that. The scissors, these are actually like regular scissors, but if you're a hairstylist, you know you don't use regular scissors. You use hairstyling scissors, so I want to change those. The T, see this little top part? It's too short, and I wanted to make it a little bit longer. And then the stick of the A. Oh, and there's another little, what I would call a mistake right here, because if you notice on this A, the stick is you can tell where the stick of the A is, but on this one, the circle it's a little pointy at the end. So these are tiny little details that you wouldn't necessarily notice, but now that I pointed them out, you can kind of see. And then I checked off, because each of these things takes a lot of work to change. These little bitty changes, they take a lot of work. And so that's why I wrote them down, and I checked them off. And the only thing that I did not change was the scissors. I couldn't find a picture of scissors to draw, so I kept those like that. But this is the final version of that logo. All right. I also do henna designs. Some of you guys know this. Sometimes I show up to work and I have henna on my arms or on my hands. And so I wanted to make some designs that are my own instead of copying somebody else's designs, making my own. And I also have a henna company. It's called Earth Willow Henna, but it used to be called Blue Willow Henna. So I wanted also to design a logo for that. So these are all just different, just playing around with it. There's a willow tree. There's different fonts of the name. There's the way that the willow leaf or the stem or whatever is flowing through the logo design. And so let's see what I came up with. I went through a lot of different versions. I worked on this really hard. In the end, I like this one, but it ended up looking like a baseball, so no. This one's kind of cool. But I wanted something that looked like a willow leaf, like I don't even know what it's called, the branch? The thing that sways around in the wind. And so I think I ended up with something like this in a square. And then the willow part is all one line. I want it to all be one continuous line. And this is my font. This isn't anything that I found online. That, if you'll see down here, I just wrote and wrote and wrote different times. And then I really like the way this word blue came out. Because the U and the E are connected at the end. It looks very like casual. And I like the way this willow came out of all of them. So I went and I created them digitally. All right. This is a picture of a girl that I drew from my imagination. It's not based on reference. So you've seen other drawings that I've done where I look at the image of a person and then I draw that or something similar to that. So I use that as a guideline. It might not look I don't want it to look exactly like the original, but I am using the original as guides to make the new one. But this one was not done like that. It was all done from my imagination. And what I was imagining was looking at her like from a top angle looking down. In other words, let's see, my 5th graders remember the snowman from last year and how I told you were looking up at the snowman from the perspective of an ant or a bug or a worm, I think it was. And so you would be looking up. But in this case, you're looking down. So it's a little bit different. Okay, this is some more just practicing. I was sitting at this coffee shop one day and I saw this clock on a table. And so I drew it exactly as I saw it. And I knew that I was practicing like shadows and things. So I even labeled where the light was coming from. So that's why this side is a little bit lighter. This side is a little bit darker. And I wanted to add the details of this clock. And then it was a painting on the wall of Jimi Hendrix, who's a fantastic guitar player. And I really wanted to get the texture of the hair, and I wanted to get the details of the face. It's really difficult when so this was not a photograph, it was a very abstract painting, and I'm trying to translate it back from the abstract painting to a drawing, which is a little bit more realistic. So that was a challenge for me. And then this is a drawing that I made a pencil first, and then I did some ink, and you can see some of the cross-hatching work in the detail of the legs. And then a friend of mine was working as like a handyman, and so he wanted a logo to put on his business cards and stuff. So I designed this image of like a superhero, but he has a tool belt with some tools in it, and then that I also transferred it to a digital version of that. And you can see it's not just line work. On the pencil sketch, you can see you start off kind of like drawing a stick person kind of, with the legs are just these lines, and then you have the knees right here. So they're just kind of guidelines, and then you start layering everything else on top of it. When you get to the digital version, you also have the variations in the shading. So you have a darker gray, there's a medium gray, and a light gray just in the cape itself. The pants also have like a darker shade of blue for the shadows, and then a lighter shade of blue. And even the hair and the face, they have just different variations. And this was just a couple of sketches that I did for some companies that needed some, sketching, some drawings. This one was, they wanted to have a whole layout of different kinds of doors, so they wanted different styles of front doors. And then somebody just asked for a picture of a businesswoman, so I designed that. This next one was, I think it was from a wedding magazine. And I really liked the way the girl's hair looked. I liked the way her face was positioned, like to the back. We're standing behind her. And so I did that. And you can see that I have a lot of little drops of paint on it. That is because this eventually became a painting. I kind of like the drawing better, but the painting looks okay too. I don't know, you be the judge. This was another drawing that I made. This one did not become a painting. This one is my daughter's great-great-grandmother. We had a picture of her, and I really wanted to I love the texture of her face and the way, just these little, I don't know, indentations and just, I don't know how to call it. I would say the word topography, which is like when you have something that's not flat and it's got little waves and it's got like hills and crevices and things like that. And so that's what I wanted to get out of this drawing. This is another one that I did not finish, but I kind of like the way it came out. Yeah. This one I was thinking, sometimes when I'm walking around and I look at trees, I like to imagine that they are like ballerinas. So the trunk would be the foot that's like the one that's solid on the ground. And then whatever the very first time the trunk splits, that would be the second leg. So if you're driving around and you see, or you're riding around or you're going for a walk in the neighborhood, try to imagine trees like that, because I do, and this is kind of what I imagine. This is the trunk of the tree, which is the leg that's always standing, and then the other leg is going to be the one that shoots up from that. So and I really wanted to draw that, but I wasn't quite that successful with it. This is the closest that I got to them. Okay, so I went through a phase where I did some metal work. So metalwork is based on line and detail. I love lines. And so I made a list of things that I maybe could draw. I did some quick sketches of some stuff that I could draw. I made this design I got off the internet, so I'm not going to take credit for that. I just drew it because I liked it and I wanted to kind of develop that. This one probably I did too. And these I think they came from tattoo designs, but I wanted to make them out of metalwork. And then this, let me see what I was trying to do here. There's a lot going on in these 2 pages. These right here are called gesture drawings, and that means that you're doing a really quick sketch of a human body. So it has the arms and the legs and the head. You're more going for the movement. What are these people doing? Like this person is twisting as they're walking in that direction. This person's sitting on a stool. And so you're just trying to get it's like stick people. It's very similar to drawing stick people. It's a very quick way of getting like the actions of somebody. This one, I was actually trying to draw with scribble. It looks like like a kid did these, right? And actually, if you look at it upside down, you can kind of see better what everything looks like. Some of them, like this one. So but I did not draw them upside down. The whole time I'm holding the book right side up. But I wanted to kind of experiment with drawing stuff upside down, backward. So if you look at this, it's me trying to write things in reverse. I must have read this in a book or something. Try to write my name in cursive. This is the right way, and then I try to write it like the mirror image of it coming back the other way. So this is just practicing. Sometimes we do these little exercises to get our brains thinking in new, different ways. And like I said, the ones that you see that are upside down, that's how I drew them. I drew them upside down. I did little squiggles and stuff, and then I outlined them. I really like the way she came out. And I kind of like these faces. They're very, I don't know. This reminds me of a painting I did once too. I'll show you that. All right, so this is just more details. I wanted to get better at the eyes. This looks kind of weird, this composition, but I did them separately. They're not related, so I was trying to get a good eye, trying to get a good mouth without shading a lot. The eyes. This was just, I was doing henna for somebody, and they wanted a certain design, so I was doing that. And then this is trying to get the body again. This is a tutorial that I got on, I think I found it on YouTube or something. This one too. So I'm just trying different things. The legs were done from like cylinders. So if you see the little circle part, like tubes. So you break everything up into like basic shapes. So your arms and your legs, they become just tubes. And then this, one of my favorite YouTubers does ink work. Like he just sits there and he just does intricate, detailed ink work with a pen. And that's something that I absolutely love to do. And it's just fascinating to me. So this is me trying to not follow what he was doing, but how do I say this? Just create something in the style that he would create. So it's not like his picture looked exactly like this, not at all. But he was doing something that involved creating these shapes and filling them with all these different details. And so I did the same thing. I just created random shapes and filled them with random details. So this is what came out of that experience. If you'll notice, when we were making the mandalas, I remember that I told you guys make some things that are really dark and bold with other things that have little details so it looks lighter. And you can see the contrast between the really dark black and the white. So the contrast, it gives you a lot of a visual interest. It makes it look really interesting to look at. Then these right here, I started making these a while back ago, and I don't even know where they came from, but this is where they were born. Eventually, to me, they started looking like puzzles, like puzzle pieces, because of all these little indentations. Puzzle pieces don't look exactly like this, but puzzle pieces have elements that are similar to this. So they have these curves and they have the things that poke out to connect with that. So I just started making these. I don't even know why. I just felt the need to make them. Sometimes you just kind of start doodling with your pencil and something weird comes out, and then you notice that it's weird and you like it, and then you start making more and more of those. So this is a painting that I did for a friend, and this is where I started that. It had 3 elements. It has a skull, it had birds, and it had daisies. So those are the 3. I'm just kind of planning the layout of that painting. You can see how that turned out. And then this is me designing dresses. Aren't they pretty? But I think what looks best about these is the watercolor. I don't use a lot of watercolor in this book because the paper's really thin. But for this one, yeah, I'm looking at the proportions. What this is right here is when I started, I did the top and the bottom of the whole person. This would be where the hip is. Then I have like where the waist is. I have all these different measurements to kind of guidelines. And you can see those little lines that go across, just guidelines. But on top of that, I did the watercolor just for fun. And I think that's it. I think that's the last thing I painted. These were painted, well, I know this one was a Christmas present. So these must have happened maybe in December or January. And that's the last time that I have used this journal. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I hope that you enjoyed journeying through my art journal. And I'll see you next time.